Welcome to Driven to Lead. I'm your host, Wayne Brandon. In this series, we explore the real world stories of key executives to find the leadership lessons that help move us all forward. If you like these conversations, we'd really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe and like button. It'll help us out a lot. But now we got another great program for you today, so let's make it happen. We have Johnathan Grzybowski with us today, who's a co-founder of Penji. It's a subscription service that's revolutionizing how businesses are working across top-tier creative talent. Penji is an Inc. 5000 company and served thousands of customers worldwide. Johnathan's also the co-host of Dear Dads and Free Ideas, a couple of really interesting discussions, one about the heartfelt platform for fathers to share their journeys, and another one offering entrepreneurs actionable ideas. A well-rounded gentleman with us today. Johnathan, welcome to the program.
Thanks very much, man. That's a great intro. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's great to have you. It's really great to have you. Tell the audience about Penji. We'd like to hear a little bit more about it. You know, it's hard for us to kind of visualize how you find creative talent for people and that that's a business and why that need evolved, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, we want to be the simplest design. We want to be the simplest way to receive creative. So you can do it yourself. You can hire somebody in-house. You could hire externally, but a lot of that depends on finding the right team, finding the right people, finding the right tech in order to make it all possible. And Penji basically is a creative subscription service where for around $1,000 a month, you can hire top tier talent and they'll be able to be implemented into your business within minutes. So you don't have to go through the hiring. You don't have to go through the firing. You don't have to go through the negotiating or the storytelling. You just say, this is what I need done. I need to look like this, be like that, with this color palette and this logo. And I need it done like now. And then Penji essentially will say, I got it. And then our team will do it for you and deliver to you in 24 hours, hopefully exactly the way that you're looking for.
Now, is that mostly an in-house team you have to do that, or do you outsource as well, or is it some combination?
Every single person, according to the United States government, they're team members. They are outsourced more or less, but according to how we manage them and how we treat them, they are all employees. So they are salaried. They work for us, specifically for us and with our customers. We hire in, I believe, 15 different countries. And we
Okay.
have over 500 people spread across the world globally that is a part of our team.
Okay, so how in the world do you manage all of that talent by category? It seems like you'd have to be kind of evaluating and understanding all of those different capabilities and then matching them to your clients. That's a real difficult equation to kind of manage all the time, I would expect.
In full transparency, absolutely is. And I'd
Yeah.
say that's probably one of the hardest parts of the business, running the business, is because I'll give you a real world example. My wife has a floral company and a floral design company. Respectfully for men, most men particularly don't know how to do logos with flowers. Not all men, but let's just say historically speaking, most. So our job from a technological perspective is to be able to rank and rate all of our talent to the best of our ability based on things that they've done, things that how they were graded from our customers in the past, and the industry and the specification of category that they're in. So essentially, if a customer were to sign up for Penji and they need, say, a logo, and their industry is in finance, right? We would be able to pair them with a designer that has historically been well performed within the industries of finance and logo design. And that's not always the case. We could get it wrong. More often than not, we actually do. And we can easily switch the designer within, seconds. And the customer will never have to work with them again. But the goal and the perspective of our business is to be able to pair you with the best possible person for the job and assign them onto your account forever. It's like a barber, right? Like if I get a haircut Every time I get a haircut by somebody new and random, I look like an idiot. I mean, I already look like an idiot, but I look more like an idiot. But when you have the barber and you talk to the barber every single time and that person cuts your hair, you know you're going to feel confident. You know you're going to look sexy. So that's what we want. We want that barber to work with you every single time.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I was thinking that with the business model you had, it was more about speed and and quality and cost to do this rather than having an agency of record or having a creative agency there to do everything for you all the time. But you're actually getting some of the benefits of having a long-term relationship that you would have with an agency of record as well. That makes sense.
Yeah, so that's a great point. I would say for the most part, we have divisions of our company. So the enterprise customers, believe it or not, are marketing directors or like creative people inside the company that simply don't have the technical skill themselves. Because the marketing director, as you know, I mean, you ran a Fortune, I don't know, 50 company, or was it? Yeah, Fortune. I was gonna say 500, but I think feel like that would be disrespectful to you. But like a Fortune 50 company, what is it? 10? Was it 50 or 10? What is it?
Well, I was running a division of a
Yeah.
Fortune 5 company at the time, so
Okay. Yeah. So
I was
we'll
running
reduce
a
it.
pretty good sized division
Yeah.
at one point.
So
Yeah.
Fortune 5 company, which is insane. The person in the marketing role most likely doesn't have the technical skill to actually execute, but they might have the analytical brain and the information, the statistics in order to make sound decisions. And so, an agency of record, yes, you could use Penji, and some of our
Mhm.
customers actually do use us as the agency of record. But more often than not, the agency sometimes that is the agency of record uses Penji as their agency of record.
Yeah.
So it's a
Yeah.
combination of the two, but you're spot on with your analysis.
Okay. Yeah, good. Well, I always liked as a brand leader inside of a business, I always liked the idea of having, some sort of continuity for the brand consistency and, the presentation of all of the different elements of the way we shared our face with the customer. But at the same time, the creative ideas would get stale sometimes. So, the agencies I worked with always, were disappointed with me because I wanted to do jump balls on things and let multiple creative houses come in and bid on the project. Not
Nice.
because I didn't want to work with the agency of record of those people. It had nothing to do with that. It was really just that I wanted the broadest and most robust creative.
Yeah.
And if you're doing something like a Super Bowl commercial or, you're doing a really high value project, you don't want to kind of be so narrow that you're only using one line of creative talent. So I would imagine if I came to someone like Pinji, you could jump all it for me across 30 or 40 different creatives. That would be a real advantage.
Yeah, 100%. That's a really good point. I would say, yeah, I think from my personal experience, what I've seen, and I have firsthand experience of this because I used to run a marketing agency that you'd probably, that we would bid on a project for you specifically. A lot of times people just want to get the job done. And that doesn't mean that the job is right. They just want it done. And I think you're spot on. I think you need constant creative because in a world that we're in today, attention is everything and you need to be forward thinking. It doesn't have to be the best on planet Earth, but you need to at least consistently test. And if you're consistently testing, I think you're doing moderately well in business. But if you're just being static and not innovating, essentially your business is dying, whether you like it or not. It may not be today, may not be tomorrow, but it's certainly close to being dead.
Yeah, and it's a delicate balance with creative, isn't it? I mean, as a brand, let's say you have maybe a stately premium brand, you don't want to be so stately that you're stodgy and you're boring and you don't break through the clutter, but at the same time, you want to be edgy, but you don't want to go so far that you're offending people. And it's
For
hard to
sure.
know in a world that's changing all the time, especially when some of us like, might be not be with kind of the it generation at this point in time. Which generation and which, lines of thinking are kind of leading the key trends that would be relevant and cool, but then would reach across various demographics. It's really a pretty delicate balance that you have to strike all the time when you're putting creative together that you want to be, breakthrough, but you want to have key messaging and brand feel at the same time. So it's a real delicate challenge. And
It
I
definitely is.
admire the work that you guys are doing in that respect. So do you have clients mostly in North America or do you have clients outside of North America as well?
Yeah, proudly I'd say we have customers in 80 different countries. around the
Cool.
world. So it's not a matter of like is I would say a large majority of them are in North America for sure, but it's really cool to be able to see the impact that Penji has had on in the community, in the creative community, and to be able to say that like 80 customers from or 80 countries are represented as customers of Penji. I think um, personally, I'd say that's something I'm really proud of.
Good for you. That's great. And what do you see as the biggest challenge in your business? Because it's almost like you've formed a niche kind of within an established industry so you're really the innovator, but there's more things always there's always something else coming down the line, right? So what's the next challenge that you're going to need to deal with to be continue to be relevant and productive?
Right now, I think so. The principle is how can we be simple, right? That's always been like our North Star is how can we be the simplest way to receive creative graphics or creative in general.
Mhm.
Um, with the impending aspects of AI, it's now more simple, but at the same time, it's also not. Because if you really, really, really dive into AI, I've never received a fully completed project that was 100% ready to send to a client based on how proud I am of it. I might do
Mhm.
less clicking and I might do more typing, but in general, I'd say if I were to jump into, because I actually don't have any design skills. So, like, if you were to have me design something for you, it would look like complete trash, like garbage stuff. But I can handle, I know creatively what looks good. But if I were to go into like Canva or something like that, or some type of self serve model, I'd be able to come up with
Mhm.
something pretty cool. But the time that it takes in order for you to do it in Canva or versus yourself, and then using AI, I'd say transparently at this exact time of recording in 2026 in April, you probably need a little bit of tweaking and whatever, right? That's just being honest. Of course, there's going to be some people who are like, oh well, it's not the right prompt and bull crap like that. Whatever, dude. Like realistically, you can't do it. Um, so you need somebody else to assist you. So the rule is, life in general and business, and maybe you disagree or agree, Wayne, but is kind of a bell curve. So the same things apply when it comes to people spending. You're going to have the people who are willing to spend cheap as hell in order to and worry about like just getting it done and not really worried about it. Then you have transparently a large middle market that's probably okay with hiring somebody in house because they don't want to do it themselves. Regardless of how well AI does, you still need that middle ground. And then you have the people who just want to are going to spend like absorbent amounts of money on things. So I still think like people are funneling into this. More people right now are probably in this little bottom quadrant of the bell curve, which is kind of off centering the bell curve. But once that bubble and people start to realize what the hell is going on, I do believe people are going to start moving back into that middle realm, and that's where we've been our entire career, and I think that's where we want to continue to be.
I hope that that's the case for you. I what I'm seeing, in fairness to the the AI capabilities that are out there right now, I'm seeing that every week when I challenge my AI partners, I'll call them, and I try to use four or five AI engines at any point in time in my work. um, they're getting better every week, and
100%.
they're making incredible progress. So, it's just a couple of days ago, I had to do a presentation, 10-slide presentation. I only had 30 minutes. It did it in 10, and it was ready, finished, ready to show a group of executives. And I was surprised by that. I didn't expect I was going to show it, actually. I just wanted to see what could happen because I was just going to talk through the issues without slides. And pretty high level of finish, pretty good graphics, really nice connectivity, things that it thought through that I missed in my prompt. So I'm seeing it getting better, and now I'm hearing about the capabilities to do short videos, short animated video ads, and things of that sort. So perhaps there's going to have to be a hybrid model that you'll use too, because I think your point about having a human to guide it and to make sure validate the quality and have the continuity with the customer, especially when you might use multiple creatives around the world and multiple AI engines to do things. I think there's still a lane there for you, and I know you'll find the right way. I just didn't know what you were thinking about in terms of the way it's emerging, so it's kind of interesting.
I think so. You kind of hit it nail on the head. I think there needs to be a perfect blend. And I think realistically, to the point that we spoke about after before the call, a lot of people don't know what to do. So I think we live in a world where Penji sets up the agentic AI workflow to ensure that everything is stress tested and 100% or at least 99% on brand. Because when you work with, like car manufacturers, as you did, if it's not the right color or if the car is modified ever so slightly, it completely throws off the brand equity, I guess, right? So we want to make sure that, yes, you're right that you can get it pretty close and it's fine, and a lot of it might just be okay. But we want to like the customers that we want to talk to are the people that are like obsessive over their color palettes and brand and the protection of their brand as a whole, and to be able to make sure that we use agentic AI and also human capabilities to set that up
Mhm.
properly, so then they don't have to do it in the future or they don't have to
Yeah,
do
as
it
a matter of
themselves.
fact, you just, I was thinking about it the other way around, but as you were just describing that, one of the things that you really need to do is have brand police on everything, right? And it might
100%.
it might be a good idea to build the brand police as an agentic kind of solution because of all of the levels of detail. If you're going to do a three-quarter front shot on a vehicle, make sure that it's always below the belt line, the camera angle on, certain vehicles and certain brands. And so the level of detail, as you were describing, and I'm augmenting, is pretty high.
Yeah.
And so, it's very difficult for humans to catch all of those things and all of the media that we're producing because we're producing more and more and more all the time.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah, interesting. So, just in general, in terms of the business environment, what do you see happening in the business environment? Are things moving ahead? Are customers still spending? Is the business still growing? You concerned about the economy, those kinds of things?
Yeah, I mean, I think the market's definitely shifting. I would say in terms of spending, people are absolutely still spending, regardless of what may be read on the internet. Um, I would just say for us as a business, we were catering our entire business around a very specific type of person. And the answer to that now is just that it's just the ICP has just changed.
Mhm.
Um, it's not necessarily changed entirely, like it's not like changed industry, it's just the type. So like a lot of times when I see sales teams trying to go after, particular people, they at times go through industries or like, hey, I work for insurance companies and I do X for them. And that's all well and good. And that can work to a certain point. But I think businesses that focus specifically on like industries or being specialized will only get to like a certain amount of money revenue wise, and then they're going to have to modify and shift to be a little bit more specific so then they can get the entire like field of that particular industry. So it's not like when you start out, it could just be like insurance, and then as you get to like 1 to 5 million revenue, it'll be insurance with X number of people, and then you'll get to about 10 million, and it'll be X revenue plus certification Y XYZ, right? So then you can start spending a little bit, charging a little bit more because you're fixing such a specific problem that one customer has. And I think
Mhm.
that's kind of like more or less to without saying and giving away the cards of who potentially might see this or hear this. That's more or less what we're trying to do is solve very specific problems using our
Mhm.
specific skill sets and being able to charge a very specific amount of money in order for
Yeah.
to solve that problem.
Well, certainly the tools, the automation tools that are becoming available to us will allow us to personalize and specialize to a greater extent, or to be able to do it faster, leaner, and more effectively. So, being able to capture that value and deliver that value to your customers makes a lot of sense to me, just in general terms. So, hey, Johnathan, this program, as you know, is about finding some leadership lessons in the real world stories of key executives like yourself. So, Let's transition to that. Tell us a story. Set it up for us, background, history, whatever we need. Tell us what happened. Could be a big home run, or it could be a abject failure. Something we can learn from. Tell us a story.
Yeah, if I shared failures, I'd say we'd be here until 3 weeks from now. I would say about failure, the one thing that I would pride myself and my co-founder on is we're a bunch of two dudes that are just super gritty. We come from absolutely nothing. We have zero funding in this business and have done everything ourselves for over 15 years. I'm really, really, really happy with that. And the reason why I share that story isn't to brag, but I'm hopeful that somebody can listen to this right now and realize that if you just got a failure or a rejection of some kind, you're one step closer to that success. It took us probably 10, 12 years in order to be successful. And so of those 15, we've probably only been successful only a handful of them. So with that said, I'd like to share one brief story that has been relatively recent um and I'm hopeful that this resonates with the audience, Wayne. But I think building a team is by far the most important thing that you could possibly do on human earth when it comes to growing a company. If you don't have the right people in place and systems, there's just no way that you'll hit a ceiling, you'll become successful, but you'll never be able to get to the true potential unless you have the right team. So we have a hiring process at Penji, and it has to go through a bunch of different like filters in order for us to find the best of the best. Um, this young kid came, filled out a form, and we gave him the test. And the test is relatively difficult, but it's more so about like organization than it is about like subject matter. We
Mhm.
sent him the test, and he responded back with a completed test in 5 minutes. The hiring person came back to me and said, because I was looking for this very specific position in person. Um,
Mhm.
hey, this person responded 5 minutes, so we're rejecting his application. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then I kind of like came back to it about 5 minutes later. I was like, no, get this guy on the phone right now. Talk to me. Like, I want to talk to him tomorrow, first thing in the morning. Talk to him first thing in the morning. I said, show me how you did it. I didn't even say hi to him. I was like, how'd you do it? And he was like, I could tell he was super nervous, but I was trying to kind of be a dick if you don't, if you could feel me. So I was like, show me how you did it. Boom, boom. This is what I did. Shared screen. Boom, 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 boom. I was like, what's your salary? He told me the salary, and I gave him like 10% more than what he asked for. I was like, you're gonna be on our team. Like I need you on my team, and
Mhm.
that's what happened. And to this day, relatively new hire still, but this dude has everything that I could have asked for and more, all from just him doing exactly what was needed in order to make sure this company is growing further.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So what you're saying here is that you had a hiring process that was difficult enough that you didn't think anyone could complete it in 5 minutes, and your HR director felt that he must have cheated, had the test somehow, or not
Exactly.
doing it right.
Yeah.
And you had the foresight to say, well, wait a second, maybe this guy is just a savant in what we need him to do. And it turns out that that's the case, right? But
So
yet he
far,
hasn't.
yeah. So
Well,
so
so
far, I
far,
mean, this dude
so
is
far.
this. I
Yeah,
mean,
interesting.
as an executive or leader in a company,
Mhm.
this is the type of individual. Like, if you could surround yourself with like just five more versions of this guy where,
Mhm.
hey man, how can I get this done? Like that's another thing too that I think is worthy of a call out is like when you ask people questions, how they respond is indicative of their mindset and their own capabilities. Hey, I want you to send like, and I challenge people to do this. I give crazy goals, but I'm understanding that like I'm only going to be able to receive like maybe 10 to 20% of whatever it is that I ask for, and I'm fine with that. So like I'll say, guys, how do we send 100,000 messages a day or a week, right? And they'll be like, damn, like what? Like really that much? I'm like, no, yeah, that's real stuff. Um, I don't think that's possible. All right, I don't want to work with you. I don't. But if somebody comes up to me and goes, like this guy in particular is like, I'll find a way. And even if you don't know the answer, it's cool. Nah, man, 100% capable. You may not know it yet, but it's possible because other people are doing it. I bet you guys did it at one point in time, sending 100,000 of something, right? Like you did, you're doing it. So it is possible. It's just we may not have the funds as what you may have had at the time for the budget, but like, oh, it's certainly possible. But the only limit is yourself. So I specifically want to work with people that don't see a barrier and just want to kick it, like punch it in the face.
So that's a really powerful characteristic to look for as part of your hiring and in team building kind of orientation. So look for people who are willing to take on extreme challenges and not be afraid to give it their best shot and do what they can. So how do you communicate that? I was just curious in the job description in terms of what you want. Do you make it clear that that's what you want, or how do you make it clear? Maybe that would be a better question.
Really, really good question. I don't have a good answer for that, to be honest. But I think in order to retain those types of people is that you have to keep them interested always. Like you always have to like have something interesting and challenging in order for them to do. Because once you stop that, then they feel like defeated more or less or curious about their position. But in terms of the job role, I mean, you could be right. Maybe the job role itself isn't defined as such, or maybe the hiring process needs to be refined for sure. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a good answer for you, but I would say transparently that if I'm always finding a way to like test this guy, he's got a whole list of like a honey. I have a honeydew list at home, like for my wife.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's got like a little work due list from me, so it's very full at this point.
It sounds great. I just wonder, what if, you had all employees like that, though? If they
I
were
don't think that's
all,
a good business.
yeah, that wouldn't be a good fit either, because you're going to have some people that are going to do the routine, mundane things that have to be done every
Yeah,
day,
for sure.
and they got to be happy with that too, right? So there's a
Yep.
blend.
I think you can only have, again, I don't have all the answers. You might be able to speak to this better than I. I think that team max number is like 3 to 5. And I think they work in super small silos within companies to make processes more efficient throughout the way. In this particular, use case, it's the sales process. So how can I use the best of this individuals on this team to be able to make the inbound and outbound workflows more efficient and involve less people. So
Hmm.
that's the objective for there. But as a corporate institution, if that was all we had on the team, I mean, like it would turn into a robot. I feel like it wouldn't even
It
be a
would be
company; it would be a
difficult.
shell.
It'd be difficult.
Yeah.
When you started off, before you even told the story, you talked about the importance of building a team, and we get a lot of dialogue in this program about building a team and how important it is to keep that team, inspired, motivated, encouraged about, the outcomes, keep them moving toward, the strategic alignment that the company needs to be successful, all of those types of things. What are the other characteristics you look for in your team to have people who are really engaged with what the vision and mission of Penji is?
I can't. This might be also redundant to the rest of your conversations, but like I want to be able to talk to them. I want to have a beer with them. Like it's like a beer test or like a drink test, whatever you want to call it. There are absolutely some people on my team that I manage specifically that I don't want to have a beer with. I would never have a beer with. And I can tell you transparently that they are the lower performers. The people that I do want to have a beer with or I wouldn't mind having a beer with, I would say are higher performers. And that doesn't mean that like you have to be a high performer because I don't think that's always the case. Again, it's balance, but I just think they need to be a good person. And I think they need to be able to have the similar values that you have. You don't have to love work as much as I do, right? You don't have to want to work 24 hours a day as much as I do, more or less. But there needs to be something that you're excited about. And if you're not excited about something on a personal level, then I think it's going to be really hard in order for you to be passionate about anything on a work level. Again, you don't have to love what you do. It is a job at the end of the day, and I make that very transparent. This is a job. When you come to work, you're working. We can have fun, absolutely. But I think the beer test remains the same. You know, if you enjoy talking to this person and you're genuinely curious about them and they're genuinely curious about you, I think in general they'll probably work a little bit harder for you and with you because you're fixing the same problem.
Well, I think you could assume that they would work better with others too, with their peers, with their subordinates, with their colleagues, right? So that's a big part of it. But you said something there that's really important. If they have kind of beliefs and values and thoughts about life similar to the way you do, then it's going to be more aligned. Do you set up the core values and the beliefs of the company and the expectations when you bring people in, or do you keep that in front of your team on a regular basis? So that whole idea of the company culture is pretty clear and well understood as to how you would fit into that or how you might be on the outskirts of it.
Transparently, we don't talk about it as much as we probably should. And I think that that is where that's I would say a downfall to Penji because we're not a corporate institution. I've my only experience in my business career has been this. So transparently, I think Penji could benefit from like a corporate structure where it has that. And then we do to a certain degree, and we've consulted and things like that. But I think, that's where I, as a leader, struggle with maintaining those core values on a consistent basis. However, and we do have core values and we do live them, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't,
Mhm.
bring them up probably as much as I probably should.
Mhm.
Um, but I'd say I don't want to repeat it, but I just go back to the like, are you a good person and are you able to have a good conversation with them? And more often than not, I think that to me is usually a good test of just quality of work and quality of person.
Yeah, I think, maybe someone like yourself who's been the co-founder of the company and you've worked with thousands of people, your judgment is probably very finely tuned about what a good person would be and would
Sure.
look like.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Who knows?
in
My
my
definition might be crap.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but what I was going to say is that not all of us have that same finely tuned
Sure.
perception about what a good person is. And, I've met a lot of people in my traveling around the world that would, if you ask them, they would say that, oh yeah, I'm a good person. And then sometimes you start checking what a good person means to them in terms of what they're willing to lie about and what they're willing to tell the truth
That's a
about,
great
and
point.
relative what they're willing to gossip about and what they're not willing to gossip about, those kinds of subtle things that don't necessarily always signal a bad person. But those things can be toxic in a work environment too. So yeah, maybe it's time as you continue to grow and evolve to find firm it up a little bit. But it sounds like
100%.
you're doing great with what you're doing right now, and maybe you're just getting to that point in your success structure where you're going to need to evolve to that next level to put into place some of those things. So, yeah, good on you that you're thinking about it. I love the fact that that was the first thing you brought up, building a team and keeping them aligned, and I think that is important, even in the automation world we're living in today. I think the team is still important.
Yeah,
All right,
I would say I would add if I'm sorry, just give me if you
yeah.
don't mind. I would just say I would like to add, I think the goals are helpful, has been my major guiding principle is the goal.
Mhm.
And for me, I've always been goal oriented rather than that. So like I agree strongly with everything you just said. But I do think that the when the goal is presented clearly and everybody knows that we're rowing the boat together, um, and everybody's accountable for those goals, it has personally helped me in that regard. And I'm
So
hopeful
when
it's
you
helpful to other people as well.
Yeah, I have a question about that. So when you have the goals there, do you set it up so that one person can win individually, or do you have it set up so that only the team wins collectively toward
Yeah,
those goals?
great question. So I think competition is really helpful as I have a relatively sports background. So we do have individual goals and we actually display them publicly in front of everybody. And that's not to demotivate people, it's just to make people aware. Penji doesn't fire people because we don't interact with people because everybody for the most part is in a different country or we're remote.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
therefore, it's really easy to be able to say, Wayne, if I didn't like you right now, all I had to do was just click an X and I'm gone, right? Like that, and that's it, right? And realistically, that can be true in my scenario, but we have checks and balances to ensure that you don't leave this company unlawfully or unethically or yeah, unethically. Um, so if it's displayed individually, I think it will motivate people. However, there is a common goal between the whole team that they need to account for. And that from a meeting perspective, I do bring that up every single meeting. And I'm like, how close are we to this? How close are we to this? How close are we to this? Do you think this output is representative of this goal? The answer is no. Okay, cool. How do we get there? And so that in itself, I think, can help people along the way, but it's not always a good fit for every team.
Yeah, I think collective rewards are an important part of any company's behavior because that kind of helps, when you're not there at every moment to provide the strategic direction, the goals that everyone is kind of working toward provides that kind of in and of itself. And then having some recognition for individual high performers is always okay, good. I think it's good for accountability. So I expect that, not only the competitive, aspect of the reason you would set up that way, but if if everyone knows what Jonathan's responsible for, then it's very easy for Johnathan to not have any mistake about what he's responsible for and what resources he has to get it done and what the timeline is. So I think it helps as a leader with accountability if there's broader awareness of what the specific tasks are and when they're supposed to be done, and it works kind of synergistically with some of the group goals sometimes. So you've probably got it set up the right way, as a result of what you've done, and obviously your results, kind of demonstrate that. So, moving into the end of this conversation, I like to ask a couple of questions of my guests each time they're here. And, over the years, you've learned a lot of things. You mentioned in the last 15 years, you had more learning than you had success, perhaps in those years. If you fast forwarded to before Penji, back when you were a younger man, knowing what you know now, what one piece of advice would you give yourself?
It's gonna be okay. Uh, that's probably the first one. I mean,
Mm,
man, I went 5, 6 years of my life without ever receiving a paycheck and reinvesting every single dollar into the business
mm,
that I ever earned. To be able to, help build a family that I'm doing now, I would say a couple things. Number one, choose your partner correctly, um, both professionally and also um, personally.
mm,
Um, And I would say, and I'll speak to both, but I would say number two is create a goal so outlandish and crazy that when you say it to other people, it makes you feel awkward or you feel hesitant to bring it up because it's so crazy and stupid. And then bring it up every single time once you have it, like in meetings or with other, to people, friends. Most people in my life have never understood what I do, and I used to care a lot about it. I don't give a crap anymore. My job is to provide for my family and to provide a life that I've never had for my daughter and hopefully future children. Um, so I would say those two in particular, and I'd say to speak to that, my business partner I've known for pretty much my entire life. I've only worked with him, and I'm really happy that I have worked with him, although transparently, I'm sure I piss him off and he pisses me off, but I know for the fact we don't really have a personal relationship. We have a business relationship. I love him personally and I care for him and everything that he's built in his family. But at the end of the day, we have a common goal of growing this business to what we want it to be. Um,
mm.
and to have that aligned, we make decisions based on that. And my decision with my wife, or her decision really, was just, man, if you don't have a good partner in this to even you out, like days are very stressful, and um and if you don't have a good partner to kind of just center you, I don't know. I can't speak to everybody else, but I don't see how I would be surviving mentally if it wasn't for her. And then the gold piece, yeah, I mean, again, you got to go crazy. Like I lost my mom about 5, 6 years or so ago, and ever since then, I was like, man, life is really short. She died at like 61, 62, I think.
Yeah,
And I was,
very, very young.
yeah, I was like, and there was a couple things that happened in her life that it just really bothered me. Like she never traveled the world.
Mm,
She never like did a couple of other things too as well. But I'm like, man, like I want to be able to be on my deathbed no matter what day that is or whenever it comes. I just want to know that I gave it 100% every single day. Um, and sometimes I do it and sometimes I don't. But more often than not, I think I do. So with that, I think those are the things that I wish I would have told myself sooner.
mm,
But more or less, the first thing I would say is like, it's gonna
mm.
be okay.
I think that's an important one. I'm a follower of Christ, so I believe that we need to put the really tough things in God's hands,
100%.
and then just believe it's going to be okay. And that's a big part of it. So I like that advice a lot. And
I
so,
believe in that very
yeah,
strongly. Very,
good,
very, very strongly.
good. So we go in the other direction. Fast forward 20 years, you and I are sitting down. Maybe we're having that beer, and you've determined that, okay, I am a guy you'd want to have a beer with. And then we're having it, and you're going to tell me about your business. You're going to tell me about your family. You're going to tell me what you're most proud of. What do you think that will be at the end of the day?
That my family is proud and that I was able to actually, I would say I would be my most proud moment will be when my daughter is able to brag about her dad.
Hmm.
I think that's probably going to be like I don't want to have to brag. Like I want my daughter to be excited about what I've accomplished and what my wife has accomplished in their lives and tell other people about us. I don't have to hear it, but I just have to feel or know that she's promoting us in a really positive way.
Yeah, I think that's so meaningful. I mean, your children are the people on this planet that you love more than anybody else you'll ever love on this planet.
100%.
And so if they're fulfilled and they can look at you and see something that they want to be, they can see a model of success that they want to follow. There's very few things in life that are more rewarding than that.
I'm just starting it, but so far that is true.
I My daughter just announced her engagement for they're getting
Ah,
married a year from
congrats.
now, a little over a year from now. Yeah, it's a very special time in her
Was it your
life, and
first one or?
yeah, the first was we have two kids, and she's the oldest, and we have a son as well. Um, and I don't know about what his road is going to be, but I always dreaded when she was little, like your daughter is. I always dreaded the day that I'd have to walk her down the aisle. And now that that's getting to be just a little over a year away, I'm starting to try to imagine it because it's going to be very, very difficult for me.
Yeah.
But I think maybe now that I can kind of role play it in my mind and think about, the importance. And, the other thing is, back when I was in my 40s and 50s, I was strong and vibrant and wanted to be there for my kids. And, I couldn't imagine they'd ever need anyone but me. That's how dads are, is you take care of the family. But in reality, as I get a little bit older, she needs to move on with her life. She needs to move on from what mom and dad can do for her and make her own road. And she's out there doing it. And so I hope that she and her future husband will forge their own paths. And I'm happy to kind of set them on their way. At some point, you have to release, right? You have to,
Yeah. The
you got
symbolism behind that
to.
is so fun. No, first and foremost, congratulations, man. That's incredible. Man, I'll tell you, I thought about it already, and I'll be a puddle that whole day. But man, it's going to be a great experience. But the symbolism of like letting your daughter's hand go and walking them down the
Mhm.
aisle,
Mhm.
cool. It's enjoy every moment.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do my best. We used to sing together and growing up, and she sings in church now. I used to sing in church, and
Nice.
We're going to record a couple of numbers that will be played
Ah, that's awesome.
afterwards. We're not going to play live, but we're going to, because I think I'd be a puddle that day as well. But we'll record them in advance and we'll try to make it a special day.
That's
So,
cool.
listen,
Congratulations.
Jonathan, great to spend a little bit of time with you today. Thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for your insights. If someone wanted to stay in touch with you or Penji, how would they do that?
Yeah, if you can email me directly, Jonathan at penji.co, Johnathan at penji.co. I'll be more than happy to help you any way I can and pay it forward because a lot of people have helped me. But if you really want to become a customer, head over to penji.co. We would love to have you.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I'll get some scripts up on the video when we get this through edit, and we'll get it out there for everyone. I'd like to stay in touch as well. Thank you very much for again for the time. You have a wonderful day, and wish you much continued success in your business.
Likewise. Thanks, Wayne.
Well, that's it for Driven to Lead today. We really appreciate you being with us. Share this with a friend or a business colleague if you would. And if I could remind you again, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. We're very grateful for that. So until next time, always remember, the high road leads to a better place.